Gratitude doesn't mean ignoring the hard stuff. It doesn't mean pretending everything's okay when it's not. It means finding something, anything, to anchor yourself in the midst of the storm. Maybe it's the lesson you're learning through the challenge. Maybe it's the strength you're building. Maybe it's the people who are supporting you along the way. Gratitude doesn't erase the pain, but it gives you a foundation to stand on. For the next 3 days, I want you to commit to this practice. Start your day with gratitude. Before you even get out of bed, take a moment to think about 3 things you're grateful for. They don't have to be big. Maybe it's the sound of birds outside your window, the warmth of your blanket, or the opportunity to start fresh today. Whatever it is, let yourself feel it. Let that gratitude set the tone for your day. Throughout the day, pay attention to your self-talk. When you catch yourself complaining or focusing on what's wrong, shift to gratitude. Remind yourself of what's good. And at the end of the day, take a moment to reflect. Think about what went well, what you're proud of, and what you're grateful for. Let that gratitude be the last thing on your mind as you drift off to sleep. Here's the thing. Gratitude isn't just a nice idea. It's a powerful tool. It has the ability to change your mood, your mindset, and your life. But like any tool, it only works if you use it. So don't just listen to this and think, that sounds nice. Put it into practice. Try it for 3 days. Really commit to it. And at the end of those 3 days, take a moment to notice the difference. Notice how you feel. Notice how your energy has shifted. Notice how the way you talk to yourself has started to change. Let me leave you with this. Life isn't about waiting for everything to be perfect. It's about finding the good in the middle of the mess. It's about appreciating the journey, even when it's hard. And when you can do that, when you can approach life with gratitude, you'll find that it becomes easier to move forward, to grow, and to create the life you want. So are you ready to take the challenge? 3 days of practicing gratitude in your self-talk. 3 days of shifting your focus to what's good. 3 days of building a habit that can change your life. You can do this. And when you do, you'll see just how powerful gratitude can be. Let's get started. Number 7, monitor your inner voice. Let's talk about something that's so important, yet so often overlooked. Your inner voice. That little voice in your head that talks to you all day long. It's always there, commenting on what you're doing, judging your decisions, and even predicting how things will turn out. Here's the thing. Most people don't pay enough attention to it. They let it run on autopilot, not realizing how much it influences their mood, their confidence, and their actions. But if you're serious about growth, about becoming the best version of yourself, then you need to start monitoring that inner voice. Let me put it this way. If someone stood next to you all day and said the things your inner voice says, how would you feel? Would you feel encouraged, supported, and uplifted? Or would you feel drained, criticized, and defeated? For most people, that voice isn't very kind. It's full of self-doubt, negativity, and fear. And the worst part is, they don't even notice it. They've gotten so used to it, they just accept it as normal. But let me tell you something. It's not normal, and it's not helpful. Your inner voice can be your biggest cheerleader, or your worst enemy. And the difference comes down to awareness. You have to start paying attention to what it's saying. You have to listen closely, because if you're not aware of it, you can't change it. So for the next 3 days, I want you to really tune in. Pay attention to the words you're saying to yourself, especially in moments of challenge or stress. Notice the tone, the language, the patterns. Are you lifting yourself up, or are you tearing yourself down? Let me give you an example. Imagine you're working on something important, and you make a mistake. What's the first thing that comes to mind? For a lot of people, it's something like, I can't believe I messed that up. I'm so stupid. But here's the truth. That kind of talk doesn't help. It doesn't fix the mistake. It doesn't make you better. All it does is chip away at your confidence and your belief in yourself. Now imagine if instead you said, okay, I made a mistake. What can I learn from this? How can I do better next time? Do you see the difference? One response shuts you down. The other keeps you moving forward. But catching those moments takes practice. It's not something you can change overnight, and that's okay. The first step is simply to notice. Notice when your inner voice is being negative or critical. Notice the patterns. Maybe it's when you're trying something new. Maybe it's when you're facing a challenge. Or maybe it's just random. popping up out of nowhere to remind you of something you did wrong weeks or even years ago. Whatever it is, just notice it. Don't judge it, and don't try to fight it. Just become aware of it. Once you've started noticing, the next step is to question it. When your inner voice says something negative, ask yourself, is this true? Is this helpful? Is this how I would talk to a friend? If the answer is no, then it's time to challenge that thought. Replace it with something more constructive, something that helps you move forward instead of holding you back. This isn't about ignoring the truth or pretending everything's perfect. It's about choosing a perspective that serves you. Let's talk about why this matters so much. Your inner voice doesn't just stay in your head. It affects how you feel, and how you feel affects what you do. If your inner voice is constantly telling you that you're not good enough, you're going to feel discouraged. And when you're discouraged, you're less likely to take action. But when your inner voice is encouraging and supportive, you feel confident. And that confidence leads to action. It's a ripple effect. Change your inner voice, and you change everything. Now, I know what you're thinking. Jim, this sounds simple, but it's not easy. And you're right. It's not easy, but it's worth it. Think about it like this. You've spent years, maybe even decades, letting that inner voice run on autopilot. It's built up habits, patterns, ways of thinking that feel automatic. Changing that takes effort. It takes commitment. But the good news is, you don't have to do it all at once. You just have to start. And that's what this 3-day challenge is all about. Here's what I want you to do. For the next 3 days, commit to monitoring your inner voice. Every time you catch yourself thinking something negative, pause. Take a deep breath, and then ask yourself, is this the kind of talk that helps me grow? Is this the kind of talk I deserve? If the answer is no, replace it with something better. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be profound. It just has to be better. If your inner voice says, I can't do this, replace it with, I'm learning and I'll figure it out. If it says, I'm not good enough, replace it with, I'm improving every day. The point is to break the pattern and create a new one. As you do this, you'll start to notice a shift. It might be subtle at first. You might feel a little lighter, a little more hopeful, but over time that shift will grow. You'll start to feel more confident. You'll start to take more action. And the more you do that, the more momentum you'll build. It's a cycle, and it all starts with your inner voice. Let me leave you with this. You spend more time with yourself than with anyone else in the world. Your inner voice is your constant companion. So doesn't it make sense to make it a positive one? Doesn't it make sense to speak to yourself with the same kindness, encouragement, and support that you'd offer to someone you care about? You deserve that. You're worth that. And the best part is, it's something you can start right now. So for the next 3 days, pay attention. Listen to your inner voice. Question it. Challenge it. And when you catch it being negative, replace it with something better. It's a small change, but it can lead to a big transformation. You have the power to shape your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions. And it all starts with the way you talk to yourself. Let's make it a voice that lifts you up, not one that holds you back. You've got this. Let's get to work. Number 8, reinforce the positive with actions. Let's talk about something that takes this whole self-talk journey to the next level. Actions. You see, it's not enough to just speak to yourself positively or fill your mind with affirmations. That's the foundation, yes. But what gives those words power is the actions that back them up. The truth is, what you do reinforces what you say to yourself, and what you say to yourself influences what you do. It's a cycle, and it works both ways. If you want to truly transform your mindset and your life, you need to align your actions with the positive self-talk you're practicing. Now let's make this practical, because I'm not here to just tell you to do more or take action without helping you understand how. Let's say you're working on building confidence. You've started talking to yourself in a more encouraging way, telling yourself things like, I am capable, or I can figure this out. That's great, but now you need to prove it to yourself. Confidence doesn't just come from words, it comes from evidence. And the evidence comes from taking action, even if it's small. For instance, let's say there's something you've been putting off because it feels intimidating. Maybe it's having a difficult conversation, starting a new project, or even going to the gym for the first time in years. Your old self-talk might have been holding you back, saying things like, what if I mess up? What if I fail? What will people think? But now, with your new self-talk, you're saying, I can handle this. I'm learning and growing. That's a great start. But the next step is to take a small action that supports that belief. Maybe it's sending a quick email to initiate the conversation. Maybe it's spending just 10 minutes on that project. Maybe it's walking into the gym, even if all you do is look around. The action doesn't have to be huge. It just has to move you forward. And here's the thing. When you take action, no matter how small, you start to build trust with yourself. You're sending a message to your brain that says, I follow through. I show up. I'm capable of doing hard things. That trust is what builds real confidence. It's what transforms those positive words from something you're just saying to something you truly believe. And the more you believe it, the more you'll act on it. It's a powerful feedback loop. But let's not sugarcoat it. Taking action isn't always easy, especially if you've been stuck in a pattern of negative self-talk for a long time. You might feel resistance. You might feel fear. That's normal. It's your brain trying to keep you in your comfort zone. But here's what I want you to remember. Growth doesn't happen in the comfort zone. It happens when you push past that resistance, even if it's just a little bit at a time. And every time you do, you're teaching yourself that you're stronger than your doubts, that you're capable of more than you think. Let's talk about how this plays out in real life. Think about a goal you've set for yourself. Maybe it's something big, like starting your own business. Or maybe it's something smaller, like improving your health. Whatever it is, ask yourself this. Are your actions aligning with your self-talk? If you're telling yourself, I'm committed to this goal, but your actions aren't reflecting that, then there's a disconnect. And that disconnect can create frustration, doubt, and even more negative self-talk. But when your actions and your self-talk are in sync, that's when the magic happens. That's when you start to see real progress. Let's take the example of improving your health. If you're telling yourself, I'm taking better care of myself, but you're still skipping meals, staying up late, and avoiding exercise, then your actions are contradicting your words. But if you start making small changes, like drinking more water, going to bed earlier, or taking a 10-minute walk each day, those actions reinforce your positive self-talk. They create momentum, and momentum is what makes it easier to keep going, to take the next step, and the next. Another important point to remember is that actions don't always have to be about achieving something big. Sometimes the most powerful actions are the ones that show kindness and care toward yourself. Maybe it's taking a break when you're feeling overwhelmed. Maybe it's saying no to something that doesn't align with your values. Maybe it's giving yourself permission to rest without feeling guilty. These actions might seem small, but they send a powerful message to your inner self. I value myself. I respect my needs. I'm worthy of care and attention. And that message is just as important as any goal you're working toward. Let's not forget the role of consistency in all of this. One action here and there isn't going to create lasting change. It's about showing up for yourself every day, even when it's hard, even when you don't feel like it. It's about making those small positive actions a habit. Because habits are what shape your life. They're what turn your self-talk into something that feels natural and automatic. And the more consistent you are, the stronger that habit becomes. Now let's address something that might come up as you're working on this setbacks. Because let's face it, no one gets it right all the time. There will be days when your self-talk slips back into old patterns, or when you don't follow through on the actions you planned. And that's okay. It's not about being perfect. It's about being persistent. When you face a setback, don't let it derail you. Instead, use it as an opportunity to learn. Ask yourself, what happened? What can I do differently next time? And then get back on track. Remember, it's not the setback that defines you. It's how you respond to it. As you continue this journey, I want you to keep one thing in mind. You are capable of change. No matter how long you've been stuck in a negative cycle, no matter how many times you've tried and fallen short, you have the power to create a new story for yourself. And that story starts with your self-talk and the actions you take to back it up. It starts with small steps, consistent effort, and a belief in your ability to grow. So here's my challenge to you. For the next 3 days, focus on aligning your actions with your positive self-talk. Pay attention to the words you're saying to yourself and ask yourself, What action can I take to support this? Then take that action no matter how small. It could be as simple as making your bed in the morning to start your day with a win, or as big as finally tackling that project you've been putting off. Whatever it is, do it with intention. Do it with the knowledge that every small step is moving you closer to the person you want to become. You have the power to change your life, and it starts with the way you talk to yourself and the actions you take every day. So let's make those actions count. Let's make them a reflection of the belief, the strength, and the potential that already exist within you. You've got this. Let's get to work. Number 9, the emotional shift you'll feel. What happens when you've been speaking to yourself in a positive, empowering way for a while? You start to feel something shift inside you, don't you? It's not dramatic at first. It's subtle. It might be a sense of calm, a spark of hope, or a moment where you catch yourself thinking, maybe I really can do this. That's the emotional shift we're aiming for. And I'll tell you, it's one of the most rewarding parts of this journey. Because once you start to feel it, you realize how much control you have over your emotional state, your perspective, and ultimately your life. Think about how often we let our emotions control us. Someone says something rude, and suddenly we're in a bad mood all day. We hit a roadblock in our plans, and we spiral into frustration or self-doubt. It's so easy to let those external factors dictate how we feel. But what we're doing here, this practice of changing the way we talk to ourselves, is about flipping the script. It's about taking back control and deciding how we want to feel, regardless of what's happening around us. That's a powerful thing. When you start talking to yourself in a positive, uplifting way, you're creating a foundation for better emotions to grow. Think of it like planting seeds. Each positive word, each kind thought you have toward yourself is a seed you're planting in your mind. And with consistency, those seeds start to take root. They grow into feelings of confidence, gratitude, and resilience. And before you know it, those feelings become your new normal. One of the first emotional shifts you'll notice is a sense of self-compassion. For a lot of us, this is a big one, because we're so used to being hard on ourselves. We beat ourselves up over mistakes, hold on to regrets, and set impossibly high standards. But when you start talking to yourself like you would a friend, with kindness, understanding, and encouragement, you begin to soften. You realize it's okay to be human, to have flaws, to stumble along the way. That self-compassion doesn't just make you feel better. It also gives you the courage to keep going, to keep trying, because you're no longer afraid of failing. Another shift you'll experience is a sense of hope. You might not even realize how much negativity has been weighing you down until you start to replace it with positive self-talk. Suddenly things don't feel so impossible. That big goal you've been dreaming about doesn't seem so far out of reach. You start to believe, truly believe, that things can get better. That hope is like a light in the dark. It doesn't mean you won't face challenges, but it does mean you'll have the strength to face them head on. Let's talk about energy, because that's another big change you'll notice. Negative self-talk is exhausting. It drains your energy, your motivation, your joy. It's like carrying around a heavy backpack full of rocks all day. But when you shift to positive self-talk, it's like taking that backpack off. You feel lighter, freer, more energized. And that energy spills over into everything you do. You show up for your goals with more enthusiasm. You connect with people more openly. You start to enjoy life in a way you maybe haven't in a long time. And then there's the confidence. This is one of the most transformative shifts, because confidence changes how you see yourself and how you show up in the world. When you talk to yourself in a way that builds you up instead of tearing you down, you start to trust yourself more. You trust your abilities, your decisions, your resilience. And that trust is what allows you to step outside your comfort zone, to take risks, to go after the things you really want. Confidence isn't about being fearless. It's about believing in yourself enough to take action despite the fear. What's amazing is how these emotional shifts don't just affect you. They affect the people around you too. When you're more compassionate toward yourself, you become more compassionate toward others. When you're hopeful and energized, you inspire the people in your life to feel the same. Your relationships improve. Your interactions become more positive. It's like a ripple effect, and it all starts with the way you talk to yourself. Now I want to be clear. This isn't about ignoring the hard stuff or pretending everything is perfect. Life is still going to throw challenges your way. You're still going to have tough days, but when you've been practicing positive self-talk, those challenges don't feel as overwhelming. You're better equipped to handle them because you're coming from a place of strength and self-belief. You know that whatever happens, you have the tools to get through it. That's the emotional resilience we're building here. This shift also changes how you handle setbacks. Instead of seeing them as failures, you start to see them as opportunities to learn and grow. You stop defining yourself by your mistakes and start defining yourself by how you respond to them. That's a huge mindset change, and it makes all the difference in how you approach your goals in your life. So how do you keep this emotional shift going? It comes down to consistency. The more you practice positive self-talk, the more natural it becomes. It might feel awkward or forced at first, especially if you're used to being critical of yourself. But stick with it. Over time, those positive words will start to feel authentic. They'll become your default way of thinking. And as they do, those emotional shifts will deepen and grow. I want you to take a moment and imagine how it will feel when this shift becomes your new normal. Picture yourself waking up in the morning and feeling excited about the day ahead. Picture yourself facing a challenge and thinking, I can handle this. Picture yourself looking in the mirror and feeling proud of who you are. That's what we're working toward. That's the life you're creating with every positive word you say to yourself. Remember, this isn't about being perfect. It's about progress. It's about showing up for yourself every day and doing the work, even when it's hard. It's about being patient with yourself and celebrating every small win along the way. And it's about trusting that those small steps, those small shifts will add up to something big. You have the power to change the way you feel, the way you think, and the way you live. It all starts with the way you talk to yourself. So keep planting those seeds. Keep watering them with consistency and care. And watch as they grow into something beautiful. You've got this. Let's keep going. Number 10, reflect on the change. When you've been practicing this positive self-talk for a few days, you'll notice something incredible happening. You'll begin to reflect on the change you've gone through. And I'm not talking about a dramatic overnight transformation, but more of a quiet, steady evolution. One day you'll realize that you're not the same person you were before you started this journey. Your mindset has shifted. Your attitude has changed. You feel different, and it shows in everything you do. This is a powerful moment, because it's when you start to truly understand how much power you have over your own life. You realize that it's not just about what happens to you, it's about how you respond to what happens. That's the difference between being a passive passenger in your own life and being the one who takes the wheel and drives. You've been the one driving this whole time, and now you're starting to see how far you've come. And here's the amazing part. When you take a moment to reflect on how much you've grown, you see all the little steps you took that led to this place. The small changes you made in your self-talk have snowballed into something much bigger. Maybe you've become more patient with yourself. Maybe you've started to believe that you can actually achieve your goals, no matter how big they seem. Maybe you've even noticed that the people around you are responding to you differently because of the shift in your energy. It's all happening because of the simple act of talking to yourself in a positive, empowering way. It's easy to underestimate the power of our own words. We get caught up in the day-to-day grind, and we think that our thoughts don't really make a difference. But over time, those thoughts shape our reality. Your inner voice is powerful. It has the ability to create change, and you've just begun to tap into that power. As you reflect on the changes you're seeing in yourself, I want you to take a moment and acknowledge just how far you've come. Don't rush through this. Really take it in. You've been doing the work. You've been speaking to yourself with kindness, with encouragement, and with belief. That's not easy. It takes effort. It takes intention, and it's paying off. When you start to recognize the change, you begin to build even more momentum. You're proving to yourself that this process works. You're showing yourself that you are capable of changing your mindset, your emotions, and ultimately your life. Here's the thing I want you to remember. Reflection is key to growth. When you reflect on where you've been, it helps you understand where you're going. It gives you a clearer sense of purpose and direction. Reflection helps you see how far you've come and how much more you're capable of. It fuels your belief in yourself, which is the most powerful force you can have in your life. The more you believe in yourself, the more you can accomplish. But this is just the beginning. The shift you're experiencing right now is real, but the key is to keep going. This is where people often stop. They feel the change, They see the results, and then they think, I've made it. I'm good now. But true growth isn't about one big leap forward. It's about consistent, small steps over time. What you've experienced in these past few days is a glimpse into your potential. Now it's time to keep that momentum going. Because once you see that change, once you start to believe in your own power, there's no limit to what you can achieve. You're building a new way of thinking, and that's going to affect every part of your life. As you continue to talk to yourself with love, encouragement, and positivity, your life will start to reflect that. Your actions will align with your thoughts, and your thoughts will align with your actions. This is how you build a life of consistency, of progress, and of success. It's not magic, it's not something that happens overnight, but it's real, and it's within your reach. Take a moment to think about where you were before you started this 3-day journey. How did you talk to yourself back then? How did you feel about your goals, your potential, your worth? Now look at where you are today. Can you see the change? Can you feel the shift in your mindset? Can you see how your confidence is growing? How your self-belief is strengthening? The beauty of this process is that it doesn't have to stop here. You've already seen the change that's possible with just a few days of positive self-talk. And now you get to decide what happens next. Will you continue this journey of growth and self-improvement? Will you keep speaking to yourself with kindness and belief, even when things get tough? Will you keep building on the progress you've made? I believe you will, because you've already proven that you have the power to change. You've already proven that you can show up for yourself, even when it's hard. And as you reflect on where you are now, I want you to recognize that the person you are becoming is someone who is unstoppable. You have the tools, the mindset, and the drive to create the life you've always dreamed of. It all starts with the way you talk to yourself. And as you continue to practice this, you'll realize that there's nothing you can't do. So as you wrap up these 3 days, take a moment to really appreciate the change you've made. Be proud of yourself, but don't stop here. Keep going, keep growing, because you've just scratched the surface of what's possible. The best is yet to come, and I'm excited to see where this journey takes you. Keep believing in yourself, keep taking action, and keep reflecting on your progress. You've got this, and your future self is already cheering you on.
Don't forget to subscribe for daily motivational content.